That ain't right. Let's learn how to tune. Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you how to tune your guitar the right way. It's pretty straightforward, but there actually is a trick that helps keep your guitar in tune for longer. There are a handful of ways you can tune the guitar. I'm going to cover them really quick just so you can familiarize yourself with the instrument a little bit more, and so you understand why using a clip-on tuner is the best way to tune. Okay, so the first and oldest way to tune your guitar is also my least favorite way, and that's with a drone. And when I say drone, I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about this. The idea here is that you have a note playing and you just try to match your guitar strings to that note. That was an A, so that's what I would tune my A string to. Before they had drones on your phone, people would use tuning forks, which seems really hard, and it's still really hard. I don't like tuning with drones. Moving on. Another way to tune is by using one of these, which is a tuning pedal. Now, just to get ahead of the controversy, this is not a tuning pedal. It's a pedal, but I don't have a tuning pedal, and I don't want to buy one just to show you, so pretend it's a tuning pedal. This is actually a really good option if you're primarily an electric player and if you play a lot of gigs. Basically, signal comes out of your guitar through the cable, you plug it in, and then it usually has a little readout screen to tell you if your strings are in tune. Like I said, they're really good for players who play a lot of gigs because they function as mute switches, which when your guitar is amplified really loudly can be really important to have. I don't like them for at-home tuning so much because you have to plug them into the wall, and if you have an acoustic like this one, which doesn't have an output jack, then you can't really use it. Okay, now we're on to the best way to tune your guitar, which is with one of these, which is called a clip-on tuner. They're called that because they literally just clip onto your guitar's headstock, you turn them on, and you're ready to tune. Now, before I show you how to use it, I wanted to dispel any crazy ideas, such as I should tune with something that's not a clip-on tuner. You see, unlike a drone, it doesn't have to be dead quiet in the room where you're tuning, which makes people wonder whether or not you're doing some kind of weird guitar meditation. The reason for that is clip-on tuners work by touching your guitar and measuring the vibrations of the strings through your guitar vibrating. They don't have microphones or something like that that could pick up on external noise and throw off your tuning. And unlike a pedal, you don't have to plug anything into the wall, you don't have to get any cables involved. You see, when it comes to the gear that I use to play guitar, I'm always trying to remove those little friction points. And if I had something that I had to do, like plug a tuner into the wall or get cables involved just to tune my guitar, those little points of friction, they don't seem like a lot. But I think on some level, they do sort of discourage you from just getting going and playing. So I like really simple, really easy to use solutions like clip-on tuners. Not to mention that clip-on tuners are still super accurate. Okay, now we're going to talk about how to actually tune the guitar. First of all, you should remember that the tuning of the strings should be E, A, D, G, B, E. If you've been following along, you'll remember that the acronym to remember this is Eddie 8 Dynamite, Goodbye Eddie. So the basic principle is you turn the tuning keys counterclockwise to tighten them and clockwise to loosen them. Let's say we start on the low E string. Alright, the tuner there is telling us D sharp. Remember, in music, sharp means too high and flat means too low. So D sharp, we know that we got to go up to E. See how the line is red when it's not quite at E, but when you bring it up to E, it turns green. Okay, moving on to A. The tuner is telling us we're at G sharp, so again we got to go higher. It's still red, but we're getting closer to A. There we go. All green means that we're right on A. Now if we want to skip ahead to the G, B, and high E strings, we'll notice that because these tuning keys are on the bottom, and you can see they're reverse wound around their posts, the principle is actually reversed. So it would be counterclockwise, not to tighten the strings, but to loosen the strings. Let me show you. And it would be clockwise to tighten them. And it works the same as before. For example, here on the B string, we're too high, so we'd bring it down to B. All green means we're good to go, the strings are in tune. Okay, so now to deliver on some clickbait. The trick to having your guitar stay in tune is to always make sure that the last thing you do is tighten a string rather than loosen it. In fact, it's worth intentionally detuning the string first if the note is already too high. You'll often hear advanced guitarists tune something like this. Notice how I detuned the string first. I'll do it again. I detune it and then bring it up to pitch. Now I'm going to show a diagram here from a book called How to Make Your Electric Guitar Play Great by Dan Erlewine. The diagram shows how guitar nuts are actually cut at a taper. Without getting too much into guitar anatomy, one of the side effects of this is that when you loosen a string, there can be tension that is built up between the tuning post and the nut. And so if you go to hit a really hard strum or a really hard bend, then that tension can be released and the string will get thrown out of tune. Whereas if you tighten the string as your final move, that will resolve all the tension that there could be in the string, so it's more likely to stay in tune. Now, a quick note for the beginners who might not be completely familiar with the guitar buying process is that one of the things that a more expensive guitar buys you is that they normally stay in tune a little better. I remember being a beginner and I was wondering, why somebody would pay so much for a guitar. There's a lot of reasons, but that's one of them. Generally, higher end guitars stay in tune a little better. But with that tuning trick that I told you about, you can make any guitar stay in tune better. Now, personally, I like to use these clip-on tuners, which are made by a company called TC Electronic. What I like about the TC Electronic tuners is the fact that they're made of metal and they're really high quality. I step on and broke a plastic tuner I had at one point. And if you're looking to save a little money, there's a company called Snark that makes really good tuners. Snarks are everywhere, and they're certainly not built to the same standard as the TC Electronic ones, but they're still pretty accurate and they get the job done. I would avoid tuning apps for your phone because, like drones, they require that it's pretty much completely silent in the room where you're tuning. A tuning app for your phone introduces not only distraction, but also they can be kind of difficult to use, which is another one of those friction points that I mentioned earlier. All right, now that you have a freshly tuned guitar, you can click here to learn how to play something with it. Thank you for watching.